Well, gather round, folks. Today we're diving into the wild world of survival hacks, because apparently, we need to learn how to live like it's the Stone Age. The video is titled Ultimate Survival Hacks for Any Season, which sounds about as useful as a soggy toad in a rainstorm. You know, I once tried to survive a weekend in the woods, and all I learned was that mosquitoes are the real masters of bushcraft. But I digress. I'm sure this video will have all the charm of a campfire story told by someone who forgot the marshmallows. So buckle up, or don't, who cares? Just remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell if you want to keep up with my grumpy rants. Let's see if these so-called top skills are worth the time, or if they stink worse than my bog after a rainstorm. Let's get into it. The classic how to measure liquid segment, riveting stuff. I mean, who knew we needed a tutorial on how to pour water? Next, they'll be teaching us how to breathe. This is about as exciting as watching paint dry in a bog. If you're out here in the wild, you should already know how to handle a little water. What's next? A guide on how to tie your shoelaces. The classic duct tape solution. Because when in doubt, just slap some tape on it, right? This is the kind of ingenuity that makes me question humanity. I mean, sure, it's versatile. But if your survival plan hinges on duct tape, you might want to rethink your life choices. It's like trying to fix a leaky boat with a band-aid. Let's hope they have something more substantial up their sleeves than this sticky nonsense. The trusty Swiss Army knife, because nothing says survival like a tool that can slice cheese and open a bottle of wine. I mean, sure, it's handy, but if you're relying on it to survive in the wild, you might want to reconsider your life choices. What's next? A tutorial on how to make a gourmet meal with it? If you can't figure out how to use a knife, you probably shouldn't be out there in the first place. Yes, the classic use your sock as a tool move, because nothing screams survival like turning your festive holiday sock into a makeshift gadget. I can just imagine the wildlife being utterly terrified by the sight of a man wielding a sock. If your survival strategy involves socks, you might want to rethink your approach. What's next? Using a shoe as a fishing net. This is getting ridiculous. Oh, look in that, a fire. Finally, something that actually resembles survival skills. It's about time we got to the good stuff. Nothing like a little flame to warm the cockles of my grumpy heart. But let's be real. If you can't start a fire in the wild, you might as well just pack it up and head home. This is the bare minimum of survival. Still, I'll give a reluctant nod of approval. Just don't let it go to your head. Oh great, now we're using nail polish in survival situations, because nothing says, I am ready for the wild like a fresh coat of teal on your matches. I can just picture it. Excuse me, bear, while I touch up my nails before I fend you off. This is absurd. If you're relying on nail polish to survive, you might as well just call it a day and head to the nearest spa. Oh, look at that, colorful little candies for survival. Because when you're out in the wild, nothing says I am prepared like a stash of blue discs. I can just imagine trying to fend off a bear while clutching a handful of what looks like candy. If your survival plan involves snacking, you might want to rethink your strategy. This is just getting sillier by the second. Finally, something useful, cooking over an open fire. Now we're talking. This is the kind of survival skill that actually matters. If you can't cook in the wild, what's the point? Just don't burn your dinner, or you'll be left with nothing but charred regrets. Let's hope they've got more than just a can of beans to work with. A little culinary creativity goes a long way, even in the woods. Now we're talking an actual flaming torch. This is the kind of survival flair I can get behind. Nothing like a little fire to ward off the critters and light up the night. Just make sure you don't set your eyebrows on fire in the process. If you can wield a flaming stick, you might just survive another day. Just remember, it's not a party until someone starts swinging a torch around. Instant noodles, and now we're really getting gourmet. Nothing says survival like slurping down some noodles in the great outdoors. It's like camping meets fine dining, minus the ambience. Just make sure you don't spill it all over your socks. If you can whip up a hot meal in the wild, you're doing better than most. Just don't forget the seasoning, otherwise, it'll taste like disappointment. The classic knot tying demonstration, because nothing says I'm ready for the wilderness like mastering the art of tying sticks together. If you can't tie a decent knot, you might as well just sit down and wait for rescue. But let's be honest, if you're out there struggling with rope, you're probably not going to make it very far. Just don't tie yourself up in the process. cooking literally a DIY fire starter using a can. This is the kind of creativity I can appreciate. It's resourceful and actually useful for survival. Just make sure you don't burn your eyebrows off in the process. If you can get a fire going with this contraption, you're on the right track. Just remember, it's not a campfire without a few marshmallows. Now that's what I'm talking about, a proper fire. This is the kind of survival skill that actually matters. Nothing beats the warmth and light of a good flame, especially in the cold. Just make sure you don't end up with singed pants in the process, if you can get a fire going like that. You're well on your way to surviving the wild. Just don't forget to roast some marshmallows while you're at it. Now that's a sight to see, a block of ice catching fire. This is the kind of wild creativity that actually impresses me. Who knew you could turn ice into a fire hazard? Just make sure you're not standing too close unless you want to end up with a face full of melted water. If you can pull off stunts like this, you might just survive anything nature throws at you. Just don't try this at home, folks. Now we're getting somewhere, a little fire starting action. This is what survival is all about. If you can get a flame going like that, you're definitely on the right track. Just make sure you don't burn your eyebrows off in the process. Fire is your best friend in the wild. So keep it going and maybe roast a marshmallow or two while you're at it. Well, now that's a fire trick worth watching. A little flame action in a cup. This is the kind of ingenuity that can actually come in handy. Just make sure you're not holding it too close to your face, unless you want a new hairstyle. If you can pull off something like this in the wild, you're definitely ahead of the game. Just remember, fire is great, but don't get too carried away. Well, there you have it, folks. We've trampled through another questionable adventure in ultimate survival hacks for any season. Our list of skills ranged from the absurd, like using a sock as a tool, because apparently, we're one step away from living like cave dwellers, to the downright entertaining, like making fire finally. It's about time we got to something that resembles real survival skills. Did this video meet my expectations from the intro? Well, let's just say it was like expecting a feast in the wild and ending up with a bag of stale marshmallows. Those hacks really took me on a roller coaster of disbelief and minor amusement. Who knew survival could feel this much like a bad infomercial? In conclusion, there were a few gems hidden among the misplaced enthusiasm and questionable advice, like actually starting a fire. No, not the kind you use nail polish for. I might give a reluctant nod of approval, but let's keep it real. If your survival plan involves candy and socks, you probably need a new hobby. So before you wander off into the wilderness with your mismatched socks and a can of instant noodles, remember to like this video and subscribe if you want to keep hearing my grumpy rants. Until next time, stay sharp and keep your marshmallows safe from rogue fires, or, use them to bribe the wildlife.